In today's tutorial, I will be showing you how to crochet this easy crochet pocket shawl. If you have not done so already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave me a comment down below. Thanks so much for tuning in, and let's take a look at the materials needed for today's video. Okay, so the materials that we'll be using for today's video is this Yarnspiration Karen Anniversary Cakes. It is a 6-weight yarn. Any 6 super bulky weight or a 5-weight yarn that's close to this. I will be using an 8mm hook. I did use close to the whole cake. So there is 1,061 yards. So I would say if you're not using this, get at least 800 yards of yarn for this project. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, it is quite wide. So we are going to work rows back and forth to gain the width that we need for our shawl. So to begin, we will start with 100. Now, if you're following along with my stitch count, you will want to chain an even amount of stitches. So I did a starting chain for my pocket shawl. I did a chain of 220 plus 1 at the end. So make a chain of 220. Meet me back here. I'm going to just do a small swatch to show you guys the stitch, how the stitch works up, but go ahead and make 220 chains and meet me back here. Okay, so again, I'm just going to be doing a small swatch, but once you chain your 220 chains, you want to make an additional 1 chain. So not into the first stitch, not into the second stitch, but into the 3rd chain from your hook. We're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the 3rd chain from our hook, okay? And now we are going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and this is going to make a half double crochet. So the stitches that we skipped, this is going to count as our first stitch. This is going to be the 2nd stitch. So now what we want to do is skip 1 stitch, the next chain, and into the 2nd chain we're going to yarn over and put 2 half double crochets into that same space. So here's 1, yarn over, go back into the same space, here is 2. Now we are going to skip this next stitch, this next chain, and into the following chain we're going to make 2 half double crochets into that same stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, so now we're going to skip the next chain, and into the following chain we're going to put 2 half double crochets. So you're going to continue to do this all the way across your 220 chains, and I will meet you back at the last stitch and show you how we're going to finish off and turn our work. Okay, so once you make it down your chain, you should have 2 stitches left, and into the last chain you just want to make 2 half double crochets. There's 1, and here is 2. Okay, so to chain up and move on to the next row, this will be for every single row. We're going to chain up 1, chain up 2, and turn our work. So not into the first stitch, but into the 2nd stitch, we are going to make 1 half double crochet. So this chain 2 is going to count as our first stitch in this cluster, and then this is going to be our 2nd. Okay, so we skip that first space. So now we're going to skip the next one, and into the following stitch we're going to make 2 half double crochets. So this is it, guys. This is the repeat for this pattern. Skip a stitch, make 2 half double crochets, and then we are going to yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the following, make 2 half double crochets, skip a stitch, go into the following stitch, and we are just going to continue to do this along your beginning chains. So you started with the 220 chains and then you did your first row. We're going to do this every single row. Skip a stitch, go into the next, make 2 half double crochets. So we're not decreasing because we're doing 2 stitches into 1. And here we are at the end. It looks like we only have 1 stitch left, but we actually have a little space right here from our chain. So we're going to end every single row with 2 half double crochets into the chain space. So now we're going to chain up 2, turn our work, not into that first stitch, but into the next stitch. We're going to place 1 half double crochet. And so when you're coming to your ends, you're working your last 2 half double crochets into this little space here. Skip this and into the next. So go ahead and continue to do this. I ended up doing a total of 24 rows back and forth along the 220. So this is for the actual shawl. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what mine looks like when it's done. It is quite large. It's going to be hard to get it all on film. Okay guys, so this is what it should look like once you have your 24 rows done. When you get done at the last, you just want to chain up 1 and cut off your work. So now let's go ahead and move on to making the pockets. Okay, so this is what I did for the pocket. To start the pocket, you will want to make a chain of 30 chains plus 1 at the end, and then we are going to repeat the same stitch pattern that we did for the pocket shawl. So go ahead and do the 2 half double crochets, skip a stitch, 2 half double crochets, skip a stitch along your starting chain. Go ahead and do a total of 16 rows. When you do that, you want to make sure that you end up leaving quite a bit of a tail for sewing onto your pocket shawl when you get done. So go ahead, make 2 of these, meet me back here, and I will show you how to sew these on to our pocket shawl. And then next we will go ahead and move over to the tassels. Okay guys, so I have 2 of my pockets done, and my shawl, as you see, is very long. So pick one side to start with, just like this, and you want to take your pocket that has the tail for sewing. We want that one to be at the top because that's where we are going to want to start at. Okay. So now I want to kind of center this along where we are at, and then you want to grab your stitch marker, or excuse me, your tapestry needle, and thread this. You will be, let's see here, you want it to start at the top, and you will just sew along this edge, along the bottom, and back up the other side. You want to leave the top open when you sew, and you want to do this on both sides with both of your pockets. Go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back here. Okay guys, and this is what it looks like once the pockets are sewn on. And that's the whole upper part. At this point, if you would like to add fringe or tassels, you can do that. I don't think I'm going to, but let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like on.